Good evening. This is your host for this evening, Prophet Russell Ringo, filling in for Deborah Ringo tonight, and we thank God for those that's listening to this broadcast tonight, the vision of hope. And we know that in times such as this, that we all have a little hope and need a vision. And tonight, we're just going to talk a little bit about maybe several things, and we know that on a couple of the segment that we brought to the audience about building your self-esteem. We talk about people going through depression, and we talk about doing even the Christmas season, about the season of giving. But we know as we approach this Sunday, which we call Easter, the Resurrection Sunday, and we know that this is the Holy Week, and we know that tomorrow some of us will be celebrating what we call Good Friday. And as I was walking up to the studio, and the Lord began to put in my spirit to tell somebody that's looking and listening at this broadcast to be able to walk out of one thing to step into something new. And we know that in life, challenges, sometimes we'll be stuck in a situation that we have no way to figure out or no way to understand why we are where we at in life. And one thing that I begin to look at and begin to think about, that when Christ died on the cross, that his death was for those us that in the earth, that he died that we might live again in eternity, and taking the sins of the world on his shoulders. And I begin to look at and imagine how that he was stuck in one situation, that he was a man that was not found guilty of anything, and a man with no sin in his mouth. But he stepped into a new place that we could have life. And I just want to let you know tonight that there is a solution to your situation. There is a answer to a problem that you cannot solve. And one thing that we understand, and we have, especially a lot of times in our young generation, that they're facing all kind of uncertainties, and they're trying to find their way in life, and they feel like life have thrown them a curveball, and they don't know how to catch the ball once it's been thrown at them. But we come tonight, and the topic of the show and is the vision of hope. And sometimes without a vision, a man perishes, the Bible say. And we have begin to understand that I have hope in a dire and a desperate situation. And one thing that last segment we talked about depression, and got some feedback, and we know that the show is helping people, because a couple of people have called and got in touch with us and told us that that topic on depression was very something that helped them, because they were going through a state of depression, and whatever word that was said, illustration that was brought before the audience, they caught hold to it, and it helped them to strive just a little while longer, as the old folks say. It gave them a sense that I can make it, and no matter how it looked, and no matter what it seemed like, that tomorrow is going to be better than today. And I begin to talk about it, and I think I said earlier that when we talk about stepping out of the old and walking into something new, and sometimes that we cannot let go of yesterday. Because when you've been familiar with doing something over and over again, it become a part of your identity, whether it's right, wrong, and indifference. But yet you still know that there's something better for me on tomorrow. And sometimes we have to take a self examination and find out what is good for us, what we need to delete, and who we need to get away from in order to, for we can make it on tomorrow. And a lot of times we find that it's not really your job or your coworkers, but sometimes that we have found ourselves so dependent on family members to feel that we cannot go forward on tomorrow because our family have such a hold and it's such a negative hold on you out there. So sometimes you have to look back and step out on faith that, just because it's my mom or my dad, that they might not be giving me uh, the right advice. And one thing I learned, and I seen it over and over again, that parents have called themselves to want to be their children or their kids' best friend. And I don't believe that um, my parents want to be my best friends, because when you want to be your kid's best friend, then I found out that your kids, no matter how old they are, they begin to get too familiar with you, and they begin to lose respect as for you as being a parent. And a lot of times we have a question, and we don't understand why my child is acting like they're acting, but we forgot that we try to be their friend. And how can I be my child's friend and there's an age difference? There's a maturity level uh, gap in there somewhere, because uh, I'm a parent and a grandparent also, and there's nothing that my children can identify for as life experience from age I am and age they are. So we try to put everything in one ball in one basket, and want to hang out with my son, or that's my boy, and we whatever case may be, and understanding. So when that young man rise up against you as a father, you forget that you want to hang out with your boy, and they begin to feel that they're equal to the dad or equal to the mama. But sometimes we got to understand, we got to step out of the old and begin to walk into the new. And sometimes we feel that we are going to be categorized or labeled as that, mama, you ain't cool no more. Daddy, you ain't the man no more. But I understand that being a father and being a parent as a man, your job is to be responsible, take responsibility as a head of that house. And I understand that somebody said, mama, you ain't cool no more. Mama ain't gossiping with her. Mama ain't doing what she used to do, because mama felt like that if I didn't act like my children's, then they gonna look at me a certain way. But sometimes you have to begin to understand that the mama is the mama and the dad is gonna be the dad. And children, they need to stay in their place. And that's why so many things that happen in the world in households today. We don't want to take ownership of our actions. Sometimes we look at it, excuse me, we look at this, we want to say that someone is picking on us, someone is agitating us, but we don't understand that we have a part in the play in whatever the situation may be. I know someone was talking about that they was having issues, and on school at school, and different things of that nature, they was having issues, and but then tell a real story that they had a part in the issue that they was having. If the school have rules and regulations, you should not have this, that, or the third, and you ignoring what the policy of the school is, and you breaking one or two of the rules. So when they begin to want to chastise you, then all of a sudden, I'm the victim. But you got to be able to understand, we need to step out the old and begin to step really in the new, because understand, like I said earlier, this is Resurrection Week, and we know that Christ is the reason why we can go to the Father and ask for forgiveness. And a lot of times that I'm finding out, and this in the several weeks for finding out really that talking to different people and finding out why is you have an issue? What's the issue with you by being angry? And I don't have a reason. I'm just mad. Well, why are you mad? I don't know. I'm just mad. But as they begin to express themselves, that maybe they have an issue or have a problem with their mother or their father or somebody in the family, or they've been victimized and they're too afraid to come out and say this is what the real deal is. And they don't want to step out the old. They want, and they can't progress in the new. But when you understand and know that there's something, those that's watching tonight, there's something or someone or a person, place, or thing that have caused you to be stuck in a stupor. Uh, Somebody have been violating you, and it's been a secret that you have not told, and but that thing is it's burning like a cancer. You need to get to somebody and let them know that, look, I've been violated. I can't go forward. I'm hurting. I give you an illustration. It's a true fact. I have a daughter that's in Alabama, um, and her mother married a man that was very abusive in the house. And my daughter and her sister was not allowed to dress themselves with the door closed. This man demanded that every door be open, even while they were dressing as young girls. And my daughter began to share with me after the fact that once the young man or the man, someone killed him, shot him in the head, he got killed. But he was a very violent man. He was type person that he was on crack, on drugs, or whatever the issue was. And my daughter told me after the fact, years later, how that the man began to try to violate her, and she began to, and she went to her mother and tried to express herself what was going on. And her mother told her to the fact that, girl, get out of my face. That man ain't done nothing to you. But the oldest daughter left and moved with their grandparents because she was not saying, I can't take her no more. And we began to then understand why my daughter was acting out and doing things, and they was calling me here in Connecticut, and they was trying to find out, trying to see what was going on, and she was saying bits here, bits here. She was saying little things along the way, and began to express how this stepdad had come in and while she in laying and lay on her bed and lay on her bed and tell her mother to make her husband get out of her room, and her mother laughing, playing like he ain't gonna do nothing, whatever the case may be. And even to this day, and understand that the young man had been dead about 8 years, but yet that still bothered. My daughter still have an issue because he have not really told the whole story, but her mom has been in denial for the last 8 years and tried to erase that part of her life. And the reason I'm sharing that's something personal that personal that I have experienced through my daughter. And somebody out there watching this program tonight might have been faced in the same situation, but yet too afraid to express themselves, to go to somebody to let it out and relieve that stress, because maybe that's why we need someone acting out, because something happened to cause you to act in that type of manner. Whether you 16, 17, 25, or 35, whether you a teenager, whether you older person that have kids and their kids have kids, and but yet you still have hold on and held on to something that happened to you coming up, or maybe even going through some things now. I might know somebody that's dealing with a similar situation. We're talking about stepping out the old in order to step into something new. Even as we look, and even as we take a look in the mirror, we might not like what we see in the mirror, but there's greatness in the mirror. Whether you have an afro, you have a weave, or whatever you have, extensions, whatever the case may be that you try to beautify yourself in the mirror, whether you're male or female, but yet and still on the inside, you still hurting. On the inside, that there's some broken pieces that you've been trying over the years to mend back together. And sometimes I understand that, and you look around and you see today that in this world that you see more same-sex marriage. You see more people that's pulling away from the nature and order of God, and we look at it and we think it's pretty, we laugh at it, but we condemn it, and we condone, and we do all kind of stuff. We just whatever that make that person that's involved in same-sex relationships. And we look at it and we just feel it's cool, but yet and still something had to happen. The reason why that they chose to fall in the hands of the person of the same sex. And I was working for a mental health place in Alabama years ago. And I began to talk to one of the counselors that was working there, and they was in the same sex relationship with another man. And I began to ask the question to begin to find out what happened. So lo and behold, he began to explain and explain to me that they was in love with a woman. And they had a wedding set, everything that was planned out in their life, and all of a sudden, the day of the wedding, she left him at the altar. He was standing in the church at the altar by himself. She had changed her mind for whatever reason and left him in a place with a church full of folks, him standing by himself. So that particular incident, if she had went to him prior to be able to call up the wedding and give him time enough to regroup, but yet the day when they stood him up at the altar, therefore he was hurt by a person, by a female that he was so in love with. So he began to say that, I kind of shied away from dating female because I was hurt by one. So I'm saying this, no matter what you are into, no matter what in life that had happened, there's a reason why we do what we do, because we see the results of what happened to us down through the years. And we don't bash, and God loves all people, and we love all people. Might not like the sin that they're in, but there's a reason why things happen. So we are here once again. This is a vision of hope. And I hope that what I'm saying, that helping somebody out there tonight that's tuning in to Win TV and looking at vision of hope. Because that's all about. It's all about helping your brothers and helping your sisters and helping somebody with a kind word, a smile, a hug, or a word of encouragement. And that's what we're here tonight to tell somebody that if you step out yesterday, then I guarantee you when you step in tomorrow, it'll be a new day. Because a storm does not last always. That even in storm, we have some turbulence. They go to the left, to the right. It might be some tornadoes. It might be some whirlwind. It might be some cyclones. It might be seem like a tsunami. Whatever storm that you feel that you're in, and no matter how severity the storm may appear to be, but it don't last always. The sun is going to shine, and sometimes that our better days is our brighter days, and sometimes we're going to have some gloomy days and some rainy days, some snowy days, but whatever season you find yourself in tonight, take it from me that we know that everything will be all right. Just like Jesus died and rose on the third day, and he declared all power was in his hand, and he still have all power that's in his hand. So we want to say once again, we want to thank the audience. We want to thank Win TV for allowing us to bring this broadcast once again to the audience that's looking at you and you. If there are any letters or correspondence that you want to be able to get the tape, or a series, or whatever the case may be, if it's been a word of encouragement to you, you can reach out to Win TV, and they can forward all correspondence. Whether you like this show, it was okay, but whatever feedback that you have, and you can begin to reach out to Win TV, and they will begin to forward all correspondence to your host, which is Deborah Ringo, and we, on behalf of her, and we thank you, and we know that someone has been helped. We're not here to reach everybody, but that we're here to reach those that have a listening ear to what the Spirit of the Lord is saying to the body. And then we're here for those that can identify that I've been through some issues, that I'm going through some issues. I need some help. Is there any help for me? It answer, because sometimes that the rate of suicide is up. You find people that's very dependent on drugs, and whether they marijuana, whether they pills, or they're looking for something to ease their situation, but it's not really in the drugs, but it's in Jesus. But a lot of times everybody ain't ready to be saved. So you try to deal with what they're dealing with, but they're trying to use a substance, an alternative to make them feel better. But we're here once again. This is a Vision Hope. I am your host tonight, Prophet Russell Ringo. We want to say good evening, and we want to say good night, and God bless you.